I lost weight to the tune of nearly 100 pounds. So let's talk about how I did it. And no, I'm not sick. So let's have a chit chat. I am just gonna do a life update with you guys. I don't think I've done one of these since June. So I guess it makes sense that I could do it every 6 months. Yeah. Anyways, Geek Crew, love you all. And I love all your compliments on my appearance. And some of you are concerned about my appearance. But we'll get into all of that fun stuff. So as many of you know, I had a really rough year in 2023, really rough year. And that was the end of a very turbulent time for me. I was pretty sad, down in the dumps for probably 8 years before that, and for various different reasons. I was in a relationship with a really nasty dude. My mom suffered from addiction, so there's a lot that goes with that, and family drama, you name it. It was just a really rough 8 years. So this is the thing, I don't believe I ate because I don't think I ate as much as I did because I was sad. Or I was just like, that was my comfort, way of getting comfort. I don't think that. But what I do think happened is I lost my ability to get motivation to do any sort of physical activity, or trying to do the absolute bare minimum level of activity on a day-to-day basis. And because of that, obviously, that translated into some weight gain. If anyone's gone through like any level of sadness, depression, whatever you want to call it, you know that it's really hard to get the motivation to move. It's really hard to get the motivation to even eat right, to even cook at some points in time. So because of that, I was oftentimes getting a lot of takeout as well. At the time when I was dealing with a lot of my mom's stuff, which I don't even think people in my family know the half of what I've had to do for her, or what my siblings have had to do for her. Like, I'm talking in some really rough areas of the city, trying to recover her on a work night at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. Yeah, like we're talking trauma type stuff. Because of that, it was a lot of like to-go meals and quick meals and things that I could just like get down, and so I can keep moving. I also was taking and eating or drinking a ton of caffeine. Like, the amount of caffeine I used to run on was insane. And I think that's obviously a combination of very poor I wasn't physically taking care of myself, really poor eating, mentally, not the greatest. And then, you combine that with just the inability to sleep because you're just worried about stuff nonstop. It's just horrible. So that obviously contributed to the weight gain. So I think at my heaviest, which would have been, I want to say 2022-ish is when I was probably at my heaviest, and I was around 254 pounds. I don't know if I have any photos from them. I'll try to find some. I was very disturbed by looking at my body, to be completely honest. I was shocked by the size that I had gotten. And yeah, it was just shocking to me. So I didn't do a lot of photos. Obviously, I was making YouTube, but I was pretty, strategic in how I placed the camera, if you will. I don't know how else to explain that. So then in October of 2022, my mom had her first trip to the hospital. That was the beginning of the end for her time here on planet Earth. So in October, it's October 31st, actually, specifically, I remember this. October 31st, I was handing out candy, and I got a call from my grandma to go pick her up because she couldn't walk, and etc. and so forth. So I ended up having, I'm not even getting into details because just even that process right there is horrifying. Imagine trying to carry your mom out of a house and trying to get her into a vehicle. It's messed up stuff. So essentially what happened is she was brought to the hospital. The hospital said, you have a bladder infection and it's just really bad. And so because of that, you can't walk. So they gave her some antibiotics, sent her home, which I had to drag her out of the vehicle again because she couldn't walk. It was weird. Welcome to Canadian healthcare at times. So I brought her inside and she just continued to get worse and worse and worse. So it wasn't even like 2 weeks later where I was bringing her back to the hospital again, physically having to wrangle her up and get her in the vehicle. And that was the first time she spent about a week inside of the hospital. And they were doing various different medical things for her. She ended up getting let out. When she was let out, she was walking. She was fine, but right away, it wasn't even 12 hours. Like, I wish I was joking. It wasn't even 12 hours. She was walking again. She immediately went for her addiction. Immediately. I got a call at probably 11 o'clock at night from my grandma crying, saying that my mom was missing and I had to go find her. Well, turns out my mom had collapsed because she started doing her thing again, and it just caused her body to just give up. That was it. She never walked after that. And then that started the long process of being in and out and in and out. So I think she was in that time for about a month. And so as you can imagine, I am constantly going back and forth from the hospital, you know, after work, before work, during lunchtime. Sometimes like I'm just like nonstop, go, 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 go. Obviously I have a full-time job. I have had YouTube at the time. It was just anarchy. So I didn't eat much. That was the first time where I was so busy that I was physically forgetting to eat, which isn't a good thing. I will say it's not a good thing. However, it lit something under me. I don't know what it was, but I started realizing when I didn't eat or when I ate one meal a day, that my energy levels, my brain fog, my everything, just like it skyrocketed. And in that time from the October to what was my sister's wedding, I lost, without trying to lose it, somewhere around like probably 30-ish pounds. Now, while that's a lot, it didn't look a lot on me because I think I carry my weight a little bit different. I'm a big girl. Like, I'm a very tall woman. I'm like 5'8"-ish, 9-ish. And yeah, so I've always just been ginormous, height-wise, you know, hip-wise. I got big hips, just bones being big, that sort of thing. So it didn't really show, but family did notice. Like my sister, for example, had noticed. She's like, wow, you've lost some weight. And because I was feeling so good, I was like, you know what? I just want to keep this going. So after my mom had passed in June, I obviously was sad for a period of time after that. I was worn down a little bit. And then once I started feeling better, I started noticing me falling back into kind of old-ish habits. And then my grandma got put into the hospital. And my grandma ultimately ended up passing away. It was a lot of in and out, in and out, in and out. There's a lot behind what happened. I'm not going to talk about it, but it was equally as traumatizing as my mom. To put it, like, she was my mom. Grandma was my mom because obviously my mom, yeah. So that was a lot. But once that she was gone, I immediately started realizing that I don't have any caregiving role anymore. I only had to care for myself. So it gave me a lot of free time, both in my mind and physically, to start making changes in my life that obviously have translated into really positive things. So I just started with very little to no processed food. So if it comes out of a box, I eliminated it for the most part. I didn't restrict in any sense. Like, I still had bag popcorn and I still have bag popcorn. If I wanted like a cookie or ice cream, like I'm gonna have a cookie or ice cream. But in the back of my head, it was always whole foods only. So lettuce, like obviously fruits, vegetables, and like whole meats. So that's kind of where it started. The other thing that I did that I do find made a big difference was in the mornings, I had obscene and still have obscenely large breakfast meals. Like I'm talking bacon and eggs and like sourdough bread, like full freaking spread of breakfast. And that fills me up to the point that I really have no food noise. I almost had to remind myself to eat at lunch because I'm not hungry physically, mentally, I'm not thinking about food. And then I usually will get a little bit more hungry at night. So I'll have like a salad or a fruit at lunch. And then I would obviously have my supper. So that's where it started. And my weight did go down. No one on the channel noticed. My family some people started to notice, but it wasn't anything extreme. It was a very slow, like I'm talking 1 pound a week type thing, very slow trickle downwards. Then I started at 2024, summer of 2024, I started adding protein. And by this, I mean, I always had protein. I'm not scared of protein, but I made it an absolute point, a complete focus to make sure I was getting high levels of protein. So I went for the Andrew Huberman level. So it's 0.7 to 1 gram per body weight. And I went to that extreme. I went to the one for one extreme. And I immediately, again, my hunger dipped down. I made a couple mistakes there because I would go for example, like the Quest chips, or I would go for like pure protein bars or those drinks. And I don't like any of that stuff. Like I find all that stuff really disgusting. I was choking it down and because it just tastes chemical to me. Anyways, that didn't last long because I just, like I said, it tastes like chemical to me, so I just was not into it at all. And I just eventually went back to whole foods. So again, bacon and eggs in the morning. I know it sounds crazy, but I swear to God, that's what I do. Lunchtime, it's gonna be, some sort of meat. And if I can't have like a chicken, for example, with a salad, and I think to myself, okay, I've got to go out and get something quick. I have to be quick about this. I have the rule in the back of my head that what if I can't get a healthy meal, what's the backup? And it will be beef jerky or pepperoni sticks, like deer sausage, for example, whole cheese. I always have my what ifs meals that I can rely on and jump to. One big hack, and people at work are going to think you're crazy, but it does work, is those rotisserie chickens. If you are at work and you're like, I just don't have time to cook, get a rotisserie chicken, bring it to freaking work. And all I would do is I would eat until I was completely full on rotisserie chicken, put it in the fridge, and then pull it out the next day and do the exact same thing over again. And it fills you up. It's, maybe not the healthiest thing because it's got some issues, but it's better than just going to wherever the heck you were going to go anyways. So that is kind of where that landed. Then in and around the fall of 2024, August of 2024-ish, I started to incorporate exercise. Now, when I say incorporate exercise, I mean I started walking and I would walk. I wasn't even getting 10,000 steps a day, like maybe 8,000 steps a day, 7,000 steps a day. But when I did walk, I would make sure that I was hitting what Andrew Huberman says is zone 2 cardio. Actually, quite a few people say zone 2 cardio. So it's like where you're walking and you can talk, or you're jogging and you can talk, but it's a little bit uncomfortable. It's kind of the definition without having, obviously, a whole bunch of stuff hooked up to you. So I would walk to that point. I would speed walk. And then I eventually noticed that, okay, I can speed walk. I'm at the point where I almost have to run. And in my experience in the past, anytime I have ever ran or started running, because I used to run a lot, my body swells up. I get big face, I just get my joints hurt, everything. So I swell up I lose a lot of weight, but I swell up physically and I get uncomfortable. And that's always happened when I run. So I was like, I'm not going to run because I know it's going to something like that's going to happen. It's going to derail me entirely. So I went on Amazon and I got a weighted vest, and I put the weighted vest on and I started walking with that weighted vest, and that added weight was enough to get me back into zone 2 cardio, because obviously I was losing weight throughout this process. So I was getting lighter, so I didn't have as much of a load. So I increased that with the vest. I also included like arm weights, for example, and of course those added a little bit of weight. So I got those after I got the vest, I guess you could say. And then once winter hit, I get this weird thing where if I go outside and I exercise really hard, I get like a very piercing stabbing pain in my ear. I, again, always have gotten this. And so I obviously didn't want that to happen. So I ended up buying a treadmill from Canadian Tire. It was like $900. It was super cheap. It was the cheapest treadmill they have. I still have it. I still use it. And I would work out and in my basement, and I would do the same thing, weighted vest, arm wrist weights, and I would just speed walk on an incline. And that is when I really, that period of time, like that fall season, is where the weight literally just like it came off. I didn't change how I was eating. I didn't change much at all. The weight just literally flew off my body, and it still is. Now I'm starting to incorporate more like weightlifting and like ab work. Like I'm trying to build a little bit of muscle, if you will. I do this all from the comfort of my home, by the way. I don't have any fancy equipment. I don't even like workout clothes wise. Sometimes I do it butt naked, to be totally honest, because it's in my basement. So we know when I'm saying in this video that it doesn't have to be fancy, you don't have to go over the top, you name it. That's a nightgown. It's a nightgown. I'm watching Ancient Apocalypse. This is literally how I lost weight. I hate sweating. I sweat so much. It's insane. I have my whole life, but because of that, I get so grossed out. And so I just would rather have a fan directly on my body and just let her do her thing. So yeah, anyways. The way that I motivated myself to make sure that I continually decided to go on walks, or I continually decided to get on the treadmill, was I would have podcasts when I walked outdoors that I would only allow myself to listen to when I was walking, which actually resulted in me doing longer walks because I wanted to finish off that podcast. I didn't want to leave it on the cliffhanger I was at. And then same with the shows in the basement, treadmill workouts. There were shows I would only watch when I was on the treadmill. And TikTok, I made a rule that I wasn't allowed to be on TikTok unless I was walking. And that, you'd be shocked how much your brain is like, get on the treadmill, let's go. And even if I didn't want to, I would say, okay, I have to be moving on the treadmill. I don't have to be at the incline I normally am at, the speed I'm normally at, but I have to be walking in order to be scrolling TikTok. And it worked beautifully, and I recommend everyone do that if you can. So the other two factors that I think played into this, other than just the whole food, high protein route and the exercise, but low impact, I guess you could say, because again, I'm not like, there's no cortisol spiking here. I'm not lifting super heavy. I'm not, running. It's very relaxing work I'm doing basically. And so the other one is caffeine. So like I said before, I was running off caffeine. Now I have got myself to the point where I have like, the talls at Starbucks. I have like half of one of those, and that's all I need for a day. Like even then I could go without coffee entirely if I wanted to. So caffeine wise, I've really reduced it. I don't have much at all. And when I stopped doing that, my face actually stopped swelling as much as well. And then the other one is sleep. So I make sure I get tons of sleep. Before this, I was working so hard on my YouTube channel. I was working so hard at my day job. And then obviously I had family on top of that. So I would stay up sometimes on work nights till, you know, midnight, 1 a.m., and then get up the next morning and do it all over again. And that's just not sustainable at all. And it obviously led to some hormone issues for me that resulted in weight gain. So now I'm done at 9 o'clock. Work-wise, everything has to be shut down. I love reading. And so I will go to bed. I will read for a period of time. And then once I start feeling drowsy, like I'm starting to kind of get tired, the book gets shut down and I just drift off into sleep. And it works very well for me just to come down from that. Unless I'm reading a really good book and then, oh my God, all hell breaks loose. But that is kind of how I got to where I got to. So I'm not sick. I'm healthy, actually incredibly healthy. I'm almost the same size I was in high school. My family doctor did say technically, even when I was in high school, I'm not at the weight I'm supposed to be at, which is, I want to say 170 was like my high school weight, and I'm currently at 180-ish. So I have 10 more pounds to get to like high school level size, and which apparently isn't small enough. And then my doctor did say, ideal world, I'd be 130 to 154 pounds. I've never been that, you guys. I've never been that low. So I don't think it's gonna happen, but I also do want to, I guess, try to listen to the doctors, because I feel like they may pay more attention to me in regards to my infertility and some other issues I have going on. If I just lose the weight, they'll stop using weight as the reason for why I have some of the issues I have. So I do want to get down to the BMI they like, solely for that reason. And that's also why I'm not heavy lifting weights, because I don't want to get too much muscle mass and tip the scales in a direction that they don't need to be in. So I want them to legitimately listen to me. And that's terrible that I have to say that and do that. But as a woman, there's lots of women here that know exactly what I'm talking about. Doctors will blame everything on your female parts and your weight. That's just like the two go-tos. I swear, you could have a broken wrist and they're gonna be like, it's because you're fat. Sorry. And by fat, I mean you're over your BMI by 2 points. So just saying. But yeah, I have lost a lot. Like, I have lost a lot of weight. I feel good. And I'm gonna continue just literally whole foods only, protein, and walking, with weightlifting 3 times a week type thing. So thank you for your concern. Thank you for your compliments, wherever they may lie. Life is going good right now so far. 2025 is off to a great start. Yeah, there's nothing exciting. My life, for the first time in an incredibly long time, is relatively stress-free, which is crazy. I have normal people stress now, which is nuts to me. I never had normal people stress. I had added stress, which I also think probably didn't help for weight loss either. Because that's the thing. Like, when I was stressed out and my mom, with my living situation, I could eat next to nothing and I could exercise and I wouldn't lose a single freaking pound. 0 pounds. And I, honest to goodness, think it's because my stress levels were so high, my body just wasn't interested, couldn't do it. I didn't want to lose weight. So I think once the stress left and I was able to apply some healthier life choices, I was able to get there. But yeah, that's literally it. Oh, and omegas. Omega-3s. I take this omega right here. My naturopath, Andrew Huberman, and several people have told me to take this omega, and I take it religiously. Apparently helps with inflammation. I don't know. Thank you for all the love, geeks. I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.